Hello and welcome to the Royal Road School of Carmelite Prayer. Today we continue our journey through the book of her foundations by Teresa of Avila. We're going to turn our attention to her 13th foundation, Villanueva de la Jara. So let us begin. The foundation in Seville, made more than 4 years ago, was the last one because of the great persecutions that broke out unexpectedly against the discalced Carmelite friars and the nuns. The whole undertaking was at the point of collapse. The discalced friars suffered much, especially the superiors, from serious false testimony and opposition on the part of almost all the calced or the traditional friars. Our Father General was urged to oppose strongly any new foundations among the discalced friars, and so that I might not be helping the friars make foundations, caused him to become displeased with me. This was the greatest trial I suffered in the work of these foundations. On the one hand, I was being encouraged by my confessors to continue my work, but on the other, going against my superior was like death to me. Even though I wanted to obey his order, I could not, because I was obliged to obey the apostolic visitators. A holy nuncio who supported the discalced passed away. Another one arrived who was sent to test us in suffering, I believe. He favored the calced or the traditional Carmelite friars, and he felt it best to put a stop to our foundations. He did so by imprisoning those he thought could stop him or by sending them into exile. Those who suffered the most were Father Antonio de Jesus, Father Grazian, and Father Mariano de San Benedito. On the other more outstanding ones, he imposed penances and issued censures to prevent them from carrying on any business. It was very obvious that His Majesty permitted it, so the virtues of our friars, fathers, would be better known. The nuncio appointed his own superior to visit our friars and nuns. It was a great hardship for us. I am only touching on this to allow the nuns to come to know how obliged they are to advance in perfection, as some of the nuns still living have suffered very much from false testimony. Our Catholic king, Don Felipe, took the initiative to favor us. He gave the nuncio visiting our monasteries 4 counselors, 3 of whom were religious, so that our rights would be protected. There were also many noblemen and bishops who made haste to inform the nuncio of the truth. All this, however, would have benefited little had God not chosen the king to intervene. We are all very much obliged in our prayer to our Lord. You can imagine what little possibility there was for making any foundations. We were all occupied unceasingly in prayer and penances so that our Lord would preserve the houses already founded, if doing so would be for His service. I was in Toledo when these trials started. A priest from Villanueva de la Jara brought me letters from the town council there asking that I accept a shrine in that town dedicated to Saint Anne, where 9 women were living. These women were living with such recollection and holiness that the whole town was moved to help them become nuns. It seemed to me that it would be unsuitable to accept this foundation. First, there were so many women. It seemed to me it would be very difficult for them to adapt to our way of life. being used to their own. Second, they had almost nothing to live on in such a small town. Third, they didn't have a house. Fourth, the town was far from our other monasteries. Fifth, I had not had, in fact, the chance to evaluate the women to verify that they had the qualities we require for monasteries. Thus, I turned down the proposal. It was always my custom never to do anything, though, on my own, but rather to seek the opinion of persons like my confessor, who happened to advise me not to turn the proposal down, but to answer in a friendly manner. Yet my opinion remained that it would be foolish to accept such a proposal, but I was unable to turn it down. It happened that Father Antonio de Jesus, upon completion of his exile, went to preach in Villanueva. He ended up becoming an admirer of the virtue of these women, and along with the townspeople and the doctor, wrote letters trying very hard to persuade me. A prior came to speak to me where I was in Malagon about the foundation. The doctor was to finance the project, and the permission would be obtained from Rome. I put forth many reasons to convince Father Prior that it would not be suitable to make this foundation. I told him that he should consider the matter seriously with Father Antonio. I left the matter with their conscience, thinking that what I had said would convince them of the folly of this foundation. After he had gone, I considered how much in favor he was of the foundation, and that he would persuade the superior we now had, Father Angel de Salazar, to accept it. I therefore wrote him in haste, begging him not to give permission for this foundation, and giving him the reasons, of course. A month and a half went by when a messenger arrived with letters from the town council, which had taken on the obligation to provide for the needs of the monastery. I was confused. On the one hand, I was afraid of admitting so many sisters, thinking that, as usually happens, they would band together against those who would join them. On the other, I did not see a sure means for their support. The Lord had given me so much courage, but it was as if I wasn't trusting God at all. One day after communion, I was recommending this matter to God, when His Majesty reprimanded me sternly, telling me that I should not hesitate to accept this house, that it would be for His great service and the spiritual progress of souls. Since these locutions from God are so powerful that the will is disposed to the desire to carry them out, it seemed to me that I had been at fault in delaying for so long, tied to human reasons, when the work I had seen Him do for this sacred religious order was clearly beyond reason. It seemed to me now necessary that I go with the nuns who were to live there. My superior sent the license for the foundation, and the command that I go personally and bring the nuns of my choice. As we had prayed much, things turned out very well. So this is the end of part 1 of a very long expose on the foundation at Villanueva de la Jara. So I had to divide it into 3. The next section, the next 2 sections will continue with the foundations, but it would have been a very, very long video had I done it all in one. So thank you for listening. God bless you and yours. Take care.